What do you want?
I want to ask you some questions. The key to the future is finally unearthed. Bring it to me.
They know you're here.
I'm standing on a backlot at the Orgo Film Studio in Budapest, and this tree behind me was totally fabricated by the Blade Runner art department, and it's apparently a really key element in the film. I have no idea how it fits into the film, but it does, and there's a giant multi-100-foot-long green screen wall so they can put this wherever they want. I do, however, know that this is the set of a farm, a nematode farm, owned by the character played by Dave Bautista, whose name is Sapper Morton. This is his home. And just looking at the green doors on the greenhouses and the yellow door behind me, I'm seeing elements of the original Blade Runner brought forth into 30 years into the future.
What's in here?
This is food, eats the worms. Worm farm.
This is protein in the future. The future's a pretty awful place.
These look like giant maggots. I'm not sure what kind of giant maggot. Hold on, let me see. I'll test it. I'm kidding. These are just rubber props. Thousands and thousands of rubber maggots.
Sapper Morton is a character that is trying to live a life of his own design, and that's not permitted, so it's my character's job to go and put an end to that.
He realizes that this could be the end for him, possibly, you know, so you get that replicant versus replicant.
Sapper is like a replicant that is at the end of his lifespan.
We designed a fight where there's no emotion. It's a replicant. These aren't human beings.
Half speed, here we go.
When Sapper comes after him with the scalpel, it's game on.
Just pop! And then it goes down. Yeah. Boom. Okay, let's try it. Action!
He's so strong and he's so big, his fist is going 6 to 8 inches in through concrete walls. We just wanted Sapper to be so visceral that he actually grabs him by the head and just beats his head into the frickin' wall. Yeah, we built special foam and pyrocell walls. It's just nothing a human would take.
They wanted to tell the story of the updated model. You see the, obviously, size difference, the physical difference, but then you see that it really doesn't matter because the new models are just so superior. How's it feel, killing your own kind?
I don't retire my own kind because we don't run.
The story, of course, has advanced. It's decades after the time of the original film, so Los Angeles has been built up a lot, and then LAPD, which is the newest of all the buildings, stands above all. It's the tallest building in town.
LA surrounding buildings, we've got about 37 48th scale mega high detailed buildings. So each building would probably take about a week to make.
Once they get approved, we run them through the previs and they populate the scene, and then we start adding details. We hand them off to our model makers.
The way LA is lit is it's all lit from underneath. There's like this sort of glowing city below that we never see because all these buildings are so big. Every paint job that we've painted on these buildings has been with that in mind.
I always think of a miniature as a giant composition of tiny little vignettes, tiny little stories, tiny little places that all need to work together to make the whole miniature work. We call them little existential crisis moments where graffiti's been painted, lots of little details like that.
We've gone in and distressed some specific areas to make the building as a whole look like it has that decay and that crazy weather from the Blade Runner world.
We are locking all the buildings in place on top of these boxes so that when we actually have the camera running through the move, everything lines up.
Pretty much each building has some fiber optic installed in it.
That set is a massive practical set. It also has a great number of visual effects and also miniatures that combine to create the world that you will see on film. But as an audience, you're watching most of that performance taking place in a real, actual environment.
There's a lot of Blade Runner in there. It's almost a thing we say when we look at the footage. Is it Blade Runner yet? Not quite. We have to tweak the light a little bit more, have to tweak the model a little bit more.
It's supposed to be a sort of a dark, stormy morning scene. Now to do that effect, the easiest way is to break down the shot into a series of elements. We shoot the skylight, we shoot the internal lights, we shoot the lights of the little clearance lights. Then when it's time to build the shot, you have complete control. If you say, well, I want the red lights to be brighter, you can bring them up without changing anything else. So effectively, we're building a huge and very complicated sandwich that actually becomes the finished shot. There is a certain amount of magic when you just finish doing a shot. It took an hour and a half to shoot, and when you see it there, it's existing. It has a soul to itself.
We've created a world in here in little New Zealand on a miniature stage. It's really come together and it's going to look amazing.
Very cool. Very cool, very proud.
Every shot is a wonderful adventure.
Hello, handsome. A movie is alive. It's a living form. It changes, it grows, and it transforms itself. There's things that you can't predict, like that very strange moment in the movie that I deeply love, which is the strange threesome that is happening between Ryan Gosling's character and the two women.
Joi's a hologram, and she's perceived by the world as this sort of ideal woman, and ultimately she's a sort of sexual object to most that have her. But because Kay is so isolated and alone, he really uses that program for company and for some sense of normalcy, and it's anything but normal.
Was a day, huh? Joi is a fantasy, and as a fantasy, she can be whatever we want her to be. But the relationship with Kay is different because his needs are different. To be emotional, to be rational, to be autonomous, to be like a real human, because that's what he needs. At some point in the movie, she starts realizing that there is something physical that she will never be able to give him, and she starts getting a little bit desperate and, obviously afraid of losing him. It's a beautiful scene where Joi calls this prostitute Mariette. So for the first time, she can use Mariette's body to make love to him for the first time. But it's not her, It's okay. She's real.
Mariette sort of living this union between two people that are very much in love, both as a watcher, but also as the heartbeat of the interaction. And she has this really strangely out-of-body experience where I think she develops very real feelings for him, which is also surprising because she's a pleasure model. Okay, let's do it.
People were asking me what it would look like, and I was like saying, you know what? I knew how to do it. I knew what it could be, but what it became was stronger.
When we were filming the scene, they weren't quite sure how that would go. That it would be, you would just see the one character or you would see the other. Maybe at times you would see one and then the other. But they shot it all in camera.
Look at you.
Quiet, now I have to sing.
Threesome just to shoot it without green screen or blue screen, without a lot of CG, as much as we could. It's really challenging to ride that and get it right and get the visual effects parts working without getting in the way of that.
And it was like a very strange ritual of having two actresses doing exactly the same movement, exactly the same dance, one after the other.
They would perform the scene and then the other actor would come in and do it exactly as they did it with a monitor by their side and mirror all their movements. And there was an amazing moment where they, not only did they merge, but they became a third person. And it was pretty haunting. And it felt really unique and unique to this film.
We would DX them together and see these magic moments of the two women would be out of sync and then they would come into sync. And that's the magic moments in that scene.
It's a real technical achievement to just pull that off. You've got the three characters. They're all merging at different moments. This is like a symphony that needs to be orchestrated. And you don't want to get in the way of the performance.
Visually, it's just something magic that happens when I get on top of Mariette Mackenzie Davis. And sometimes you see her more, sometimes you see me more.
It was really a beautiful moment to see the concentration, how people were committed to make it work, and it was very difficult for actresses, and I guess very difficult for Ryan too, but it's one of the scenes I'm proud of in the movie. And the final result is one of the best scenes I ever done, I think.
It's like a beautiful, beautiful love scene. It's like unconditional love. What you would do anything to make your partner happy.
You're a special lady here.
I'm so happy when I'm with you. I want to be real for you.
You are real for me.
The Wallace Tower, the bad guy's headquarters, that's 600th scale. In reality, that's about 3.5 kilometres tall.
At that scale, that measurement there is a human up against these pieces of concrete. It's going to be a very tiny scale to work at.
So we have to find a method of surfacing them where you had the sense that you were seeing laid up stonework, even though you actually don't.
They're really bigatures. They're not miniatures. They're massive buildings. They're just stellar pieces of art.
So tell me a little bit about where we are and what you're shooting right now.
Right now we are doing some shots from the main character flying vehicle, its spinner, you know. It's shots where we did earlier in the shoot the aerial plate where the character is flying with his spinner, and today we are doing just close-ups.
So it's day 86 of a 96-day shoot. How are you feeling personally?
It's by far my longest shoot of my life. It's not every day in your life that you have the chance to work with props or vehicles or great actors like that, so I feel blessed.
Well, we're working in the preliminaries of the miniature build for Trash Mesa, which is an enormous expanse of ruined technology. You really have to have the feeling that it really is rusty metal and that it really is crumbling and falling away.
Okay, shooting. 12 frames.
Yep, 12 frames confirmed.
Yep.
Here's frame 20. Tilt and roller kicking in.
It has all of the inherent flaws of filming something. Real surfaces, illuminated with real light, with all the issues of tiny specular reflections.
This is the Trash Mesa. It's insane to actually be on a set where there's like real physical mess. They've built this up for, I think it was like a soccer field maybe. It's kind of a mixture of these rusty old parts, which they've, you know, salvaged from wherever, and rubberized foam. It's made to look like rusty metal. Over here is the spinner, the updated spinner, which I'm fighting my real instinct to try and get into it, honestly. It looks insane.
It's a design that we've come up with. We've got two models. One drives, so it can actually drive and steer, has power steering.
Amazing.
All the doors are fully servo activated, open up. We've tried to create an interior that feels like the vehicle is, 10, 15 years old, 3 previous owners. There's a lot of life inside it. There's a lot of age. Nothing is new. Everything is worn down. You can see the stains, the marks, the scuffs. It's a set in itself.
To build Trash Mesa was based on the idea that everyone had moved to the city and all the structures outside the city had been pretty much abandoned. There was no power, there's no water, nothing outside. So the trash that's generated from the city was dumped on the buildings outside the city. Again, we wanted to base things on as much reality as we could. So we started with the landscape of current day California from Los Angeles to San Diego. And we determined that Iceland was the place to photograph the groundscape and the beach. So through aerial photography of that, we placed the two on top of each other. And then the sequence of the ships was based on the Bangladesh ship harvesting yard where they recapture all the metal and so forth that happens now. So a lot of the ships and the pieces of the ships and the idea of these little tiny human beings working on these massive structures sort of drove that look through the middle of that sequence. So it was a matter of grabbing all these components that were based on today's reality, scaling them so they have this massive relationship between Kay and his little spinner and this enormous landscape and this huge mounds of trash. It was just a matter of pulling off that scale and that distance, which was just a massive undertaking just in the amount of data and assets we had to build and things we had to manage in itself to pull that off.
I feel that actors, personally, needs real props, a real table, a real chair, a real room, a window. They need those to believe in the world.
There was obviously a huge responsibility to deliver something for the audience of Blade Runner from the first one. The expectation visually, making everything look cool, was on our mind every day. The demands of Vegas and the expectation of making something that was based on what we know of Vegas now, but what it would be in the future. So we started with US geo data of the Vegas Valley and the city itself. So we had a simple model in the computer. Dennis Gosner, the art director of the film, had built a simple model of Vegas with Sid Mead buildings loosely placed around and so forth. So we took those two and sort of smashed them together initially. So we looked for ways of very subtly how to bring in the human element into the shots, how to sell that scale. Analyzing some of Sid's work and how he used graphics on the face of his buildings, how he, in a lot of his paintings, used little human scale futuristic items. So we built all that stuff and placed it around the city in an organized way to make it look like people were there at one time, even though we see no one. And then with the haze, a lot of that is very subtle. You have to look hard to see it, but you sort of feel it. And that's what made it look real or look like a place that people could have been in.
In the casino fight, you gotta remember that Harrison's character Deckard's been in hiding for 30-something years.
He's tracked down by the character that Ryan plays. There's misunderstanding at first, and then there is action.
You're a cop. They do a nice fight through this casino with glitching, holograms going off and dancing girls and Elvis singing in the background. I mean, it's just so incongruous that it works.
Got it. All right, stand by. Going again, recue it.
We came up with Ryan should let Deckard just beat the tar out of him. Never throw a punch, not hurt him, to prove, hey, I'm not here to kill you. You're building that little bit of trust.
Action.
Look, I don't want to hurt you, but you're not making it easy. Okay.
Didn't just pre-anticipate that. Sorry.
I can't walk out because I love it too much. I love you back, oh no.
It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end.
This was the complete opposite. It was very subtle stuff. So it was all like in the kind of micro details of the face. So the biggest challenge is definitely the emotional performance. And in this case, since she was talking, so she was delivering lines.
Don't you love me?
We did 3 shots from the original movie. That was kind of like a proof of concept that our digital Rachael was good enough, and we showed that to Denis, the director, and the studio, and they couldn't really tell the difference. And then, or they had to struggle to see which one was digital, and that's kind of when we knew that we had it in the bag, and that our Rachael was good enough to hold up on a big screen. We had Sean Young on set in Budapest, so we 3D scanned her and got a lot of photographic reference of her as well. And what that allowed us to do was to fit a digital skull inside the digital model we had of her. When you age, obviously your soft tissue drops down with gravity and you get wrinkles and so on, but your skull doesn't change. So your skull is pretty much the same. And what that allowed us to do was that we had a digital skull, and we kind of built our 23-year-old Sean Young from 1982 around that digital skull. So the cheekbones, the forehead, the chin, the nose, so on, we could kind of fit it around that digital skull, which was invaluable reference for us. And that kind of ensured that we had a physically correct model to Sean Young's real skull. And we also captured performance double, so it's her body that's used in shots, a girl called Lauren Pita. So we had a lot of kind of 3D data to work from, and the good thing about the 3D data is that we can rotate it around in the computer, we can look at it from all angles. When it came down to doing the actual performance, it was all hand animated, because basically Denis, the director, he wanted to basically direct what we did like a normal performance, like he would do on set with a regular actor. So we decided, instead of doing the capture route, we decided to kind of use the capture data that we had as very valuable reference, but then all hand animated. So we basically created a lot of shapes, so basically all the things that we needed a human face to do. And then the animators, very painstakingly kind of dial it in to get like the performance that Denis wanted at the end of the day. We can make a still image look very, very photoreal and good, but getting that believable animation, that's still the biggest challenge.
Gert, tell me what I'm looking at here. What is the set, first of all?
The set is part of the ocean, where we have to crash, or where a big limousine car crashes.
It's a bit of ocean, and I see big tanks over there. You guys can create waves. You can create all sorts of different ocean.
Yes, of course. We have to create waves here. We can create wave here because the ocean is not flat, you know, and it's in a kind of bad weather situation. So we have all the crap weather, like rain, like waves, like wind, and all the things going on here.
And these big slides, these are dump tanks?
Yeah, some guys call it dump tanks, some tip tanks, so they are dump tanks.
Okay.
I mean, we have some big buckets up there, each holds 2.5 tons of water. So one slide has 5 tons of water, we can release them at once.
20 tons?
No, it's 5 tons.
5 tons. Per slide?
Per slide,
okay.
Yes.
Wow. And you guys built all of this from scratch?
Yes, yes.
And you've been filming with actors on here and vehicles and whole scenes, so there's also places for cameras and green screen?
Correct. No, we hardly used any green screen.
Oh, really?
So our DOP is not a big fan of green screen, so we did all against black or in camera. Ah. Yeah, we shot here with Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. Actually, Harrison and Ryan, they were in the transport van. When it's sliding into the water, we hit them with water cannons. With some of the dump tanks, we created waves. We got the limousine sinking into the water with the main actors in, so
that's nerve-wracking.
Away. Action!
The fight between her and Ryan, it's a pretty incredible sequence. It's fast, it's brutal, it's real. Hurt him now, take him out, whatever we gotta do, let's get it done. I designed a base for the fight, and then when we got Sylvia Hooks here, we started training her because she had never really done fights before.
When I started training for this, I felt like I transformed into a very strong human being, and that helped me to be the character. I felt, in a sense, more like a machine.
And action!
Ryan gets the shit kicked out of him, and he delivers it right back.